I'm Virginia Mosley, project manager at Devada.
What is your educational background?
I graduated from NC State with a BA in communications, concentrating in public relations, and my minor was English.
So how did you end up in STEM?
I think mostly it just an opportunity arose when I graduated school, and I just kind of continued down the path of software and in the technology world, and there's just always a need to communicate anywhere you are in any field, and this just seemed to kind of fit for me.
I lost my question. Let's see, hang on a second. What does a typical day look like?
No day is the same. It all depends. Typically, I'm juggling customer conversations and calls and meetings along with internal meetings. The whole goal of my day is to make sure the client is getting what they need and making sure the internal team is aligned with what those needs are and they're working on the right things at the right time with the right priority. So just a juggle of that to make sure that happens.
What advice would you give to high school students who want to enter the IT field?
Expose yourself and experience as much as you can. So if you have the class and you don't think you need it, take it anyway. Take the coding class, take the accounting class, do something to widen your knowledge, because knowledge is power and it makes you a more well-rounded person. And I think it's really important as you work with any industry, more knowledge is power.
If you can sort of draw the bridge for us in terms of going from an English and PR background into being a technology project manager, if you can kind of talk about bridging, that.
Yeah, absolutely. So really when I first studied in school, I wanted to be an event planner. And I tried that out for a little while and I didn't love it because I don't really know why I didn't love it, but I didn't love it per se. And so then I kind of got into the technology space, and I really started with marketing because I had a public relations background. That was about as close as they could get at the time from a candidate perspective. And then they realized that communication is so important, and that company pulled me into a project manager role as a really small startup. And they said, you're great at communicating, communicate to the customer, bridge the gap between the engineers and the customer, make sure that they understand what needs to happen. And the rest is kind of history, and that's just how I started, and I've just continued to evolve in that kind of space.
Did you, how many years of IT-specific training did you undergo?
None, really. I mean, I really just studied in school and was really lucky that I got a job fresh out of school. But besides like certain classes here or there, or training seminars with the company that's employed me at any given point in my career, that's really it.
Do you code at all as a project manager?
No, I don't. And I really wish I knew just a little bit. Not a lot, but just a little bit, because like I said, knowledge is power, and the more you know, the more it's easy to speak to it, to lead a team, to relate to your team. So even if I don't know how to code exactly, if I know the overarching high-level pieces, it's really good to motivate your team and to understand what they're talking to you about so you can better translate that to the customer.
What did you want to do when you were growing up?
I wanted to do a lot of things, actually. First I wanted to be a doctor, and then I realized that involved blood, and I said, no way. And then I wanted to be a programmer, but that did not last. And then I wanted to be an event coordinator, and that's what I started doing out of school, and then project management kind of quickly followed.
Give a particularly memorable event or crisis from your time on your job.
Whew. I think any crisis that I've experienced is mostly the root cause is the client needs something ASAP and we're unable to give it to them ASAP. And trying to close that timeline to make sure that we're delivering something as quickly as possible is probably the biggest crisis. I've also had I used to project manage an email marketing platform in which some emails would go out erroneously or maybe with wrong creative, and so we needed to fix it ASAP, and how were we going to fix it ASAP, and how quickly could we do it? So it's all about being quick but also producing a quality result.
What is the one thing you wish you knew before entering this field?
I think the one thing I wish I had known was just the fact that everybody is so different and everybody brings something to the table. And it's really not just this field, it's any field. And if you have the mentality that anybody has something to offer you and can teach you, and if you go into every conversation and every meeting like that, you're gonna always come out being a better person, a better worker, a better contributor, better at your role, because you're always learning.
What advice would you give to high school students who want to join the IT field?
Learn, learn, learn. That's all you can do. Immerse yourself in anything and everything you can to try to be better, to learn better, to grow. I think that is the most important thing.
So I kind of want to go back to this idea of you don't have to have a computer engineering degree to work in the IT field. So sort of talk about, if you could kind of pull together like what parts of your background matter for this job, and then maybe throw in that it would have been good to have learned to code.
Yeah, so I think for me, kind of the gap, a lot of people look and say, oh wow, you work with engineers, but you're not an engineer every day. You studied a humanities degree, really, is what I have. And really that gap is that everybody has to communicate. You have to get a story to the client, a story to your boss, a story to the CEO. Like, there's always a story you have to tell. And being able to take all the pieces and all the nuances from my engineering team, for example, and being able to collectively say, okay, it sounds like the trend is this, right? And they'll say yes or no, maybe they won't. And identifying those trends and being able to then paint that picture or paint that story for everybody, I think is a really crucial part. And that's what I learned in school. That's what my degree is communicating. So being able to take all those different perspectives and that really in the weeds detailed information about what an engineering ticket is and what they're fixing in the code, and being able to bring it up a few levels is really where that gap is.